Vertigo Nation, this is your host Sean. You are listening to Vertigo, the new episode. It's coming up. Stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss this. I'm going to be talking about codependency and Klondike bars. What? Hit the music. Vertigo Nation, welcome back to the first full episode in what feels like a really long time. And I apologize for that right out the gate. I just haven't been in probably the best headspace, and that's just really curbed, I guess, the feeling of being creative. And so I just really have struggled a lot lately with that feeling of creativity. And yeah, I mean, as it's no secret, I think I said on the last, real mini clip trailer, really, that, I've been going through a separation and really just doing some, a lot of self work. I am definitely beginning to understand and realize that I am a codependent person, and that's not conducive to a healthy relationship is really what it comes down to. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that in true Vertigo fashion. I'm going to be talking about codependency and my struggles and what I've been going through, because I think it's something that other people go through too. I don't think I'm suffering alone in this. With that being said, I want to pull up, I got this interesting email, and in the world of spam and, all of that kind of stuff, I guess I didn't really know how to take this email. So I got this email, and I'm scrolling through my emails right now because I want to make sure that I get this information correct. Because, again, it was just kind of weird. It came from the Marifa Foundation, M-A-R-I-F-A Foundation. And it was a really cool email that I got. Looks like Yasmin Elms is the director and the outreach and partnership executive assistant to Salima Adelstein. So I got this email basically introducing themselves and asking me if I would like to have Salima on Vertigo as a guest, that she is a spiritual leader. And I want to get this right. She is the only female, and I really hate when I don't know how to pronounce things because I hate the embarrassment of saying them wrong. But it says she is the only female Shadaliya, Shadhiliyya, Sufi guide in the United States, a distinction conferred by the head of the Higher Sufi Council. So it sounds to me that she is, one, schooled, and two, is highly regarded in her position. So I make no offense to any of that. It was just crazy because I got this email basically introducing the foundation. I had to go down the rabbit hole and kind of look at what Sufism is. It is definitely a spirituality. It's very interesting. I would actually encourage anybody, because I here's the thing. I'm not well versed in it right now, so I'm not going to even try to explain it. But what I will say is definitely go do some research. It's very interesting. And research, her herself, and she sounds like an incredible person, and I would actually love to have her on Vertigo. The problem is this: Vertigo is not in a place where I can pay guests to come on to the show. I don't make any money doing this, and so as much as it's an honor to have been reached out to in regard to this, I can't obviously afford to pay guests to come on the show at this point in time. So, I am very much interested in hearing more and will respond back to the email, because I guess I just haven't been, I don't know how to respond, I guess, is my thing. I'm very honored. I think it's very cool that somebody of that regard is like reaching out to me and is interested in having even just a discussion. It blows me away. I guess I just don't know what to do with it. I guess there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if I'm worthy of this. And two, again, we live in this spam culture where it's like you don't know what's real or not anymore. And, I have to say that my age is probably showing through a little bit on that, because even though I've worked in IT, even though I've done that work, it's still like intimidating as a 50-year-old to think like, is this real? Am I falling into this rabbit hole of like, I remember back in the day when AIM was a thing. I don't know if any of the audience remembers AIM. AIM was like instant messaging. It was a product of AOL back in the day when dial-up was still a thing. So we're talking quite a while ago, probably the 90s to early 2000s. And, you'd get in chat rooms and whatnot. And, ever since that culture kind of took over, you really never, everybody had a screen name and you never really knew who was on the other end that you were talking to, really. Maybe it was, who they said they were, but then, I guess it allowed to create this identity, and there's so many scams and things that go around now. It's like you just don't know. And so, yeah, even though I've grown up in this culture of like you never really know, it's like that. I guess I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of like feel things out a little bit and try to, this person's real. I know they're a real person. You can Google them. They have YouTube videos. They're very real. I just, never know really what the intent is on the other end, I guess. So I will follow up with that with the Vertigo Nation, and who knows, maybe we'll even have her on as a guest. I'm not opposed to that. I just need to do a little more research too. And I'm always careful with the spirituality stuff because I'm not trying to push one faith or one either. But I also think that being open, because again, I've talked about the golden thread, and I at least do believe that there is some spiritual connection within humanity. We are all connected somehow, whether Christianity, Adam and Eve, or whether it's, just in connection through the universal energy, love, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, So anyway, more to come on that. But yeah, so just it's been kind of cool, especially because Vertigo's been absent, I haven't been great, obviously, at putting the episodes out continuously. And so to have somebody reach out and really be, just interested in a light, I guess, in a dark time, to be honest, because it has been kind of a little bit of a dark time for me, for sure, like I said, going through a separation, which I know, everybody goes through that kind of stuff, so I don't want to make it sound like, oh, poor, pitiful, whatever, but it's hard, man. I'm going through a lot of changes. 17 years of my life I've been with men, and there's just a lot of changes that are coming about. And honestly, the biggest change is within myself, which is so hard to admit, right? Because you sit there and you go, no, it's not you, it's me, which I feel like is like the thing that everybody says when a relationship is kind of coming to that space of I don't want to say ending, because our relationship hasn't ended. We still talk. We parent Gia. We share, grandkids and kids, and so it's not like our relationship is ended, but it's changed. It's morphing into something different. It's not the romantic, and it's weird. And of course, there's anger in there, and there's things that are mixed in there, of course. But what I've really come to understand is that me, Sean, I am hugely codependent, and I started thinking about this. I have been in long-term relationships back as far as I can remember. Like, I have never really ever done anything just on my own, and I've never lived on my own. I've never had to fend for myself. Like, I've always had a partner in crime, and I've always attached my identity to a relationship. So, in high school even, I was in long-term relationships, for that age, right? It wasn't like I wasn't dating and I wasn't hanging out like my relationships took precedence over everything. So it's like this. If I was dating a girl, then that girl was like all I could focus on, you know? Um, for example, right? Like I was in a band. I've always loved music. Always have loved music. But I put aside like my love for music over my relationships, you know? So like I've lost my identity, I guess is what I'm trying to say over the years. Like I have just lost who I am, you know? And unfortunately for men, I have gotten to this point. Like I hit this wall, I guess, when I turned 50. I don't know. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. I really don't know because obviously I've never been in this space before. I've never been here before. And so it's really confusing, you know, because I'm trying to navigate how I'm feeling and unwind some of these things and make real changes so that I can be a better person myself, you know. But again, I've let my relationships always kind of be my identity, and to the point where it's like I don't really know who Sean is, you know. I've had umpteen hobbies over the years, you know, changed jobs so many times over the years. And I don't think those are bad things. I think that it's all part of self-discovery. But, you know, it was always in the name of doing it for somebody else. It was never in the name of doing it for me. And I realized that I am in this phase where it's like I do need to do things for me, and that's really hard. How do you explain that to somebody else? How do you explain that to your partner that you've been with for 17 years? How do you say like I'm coming undone because I never took care of this stuff when I should have took care of it 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, right? And I know that we can't should on ourselves. I had a very amazing counselor who said you can't should on yourself, and that was probably the best advice that I'd ever gotten, and I try to follow that through now. But the truth of the matter is there are times when you're like, I should have done that. I should have taken care of that then, and I didn't. And that's gotten me to here. And I didn't take care of it then, and I can't go back and do anything about that now. But here I am. Here I am. And now I've hit this wall emotionally, physically, spiritually, where I'm like, I don't know who I am and I'm empty. And now I got to go find myself to be able to fill myself back up and then be able to offer that to somebody else. Maybe that would be men, but I don't know that, you know, and that's scary too, you know. So here we are. So that codependency is also healing the inner child, because what I'm learning is the inner child is kind of where the core of the codependency is, and I'll get into what I mean about that. But I told you that this episode was going to also be about Klondike bars. So let's talk about Klondike bars. First of all, I got to say this. Buying the Klondike bars was a complete accident. What I really, really, really wanted was a Burn Dairy Cookie Witch. And if you've never had a Burn Dairy Cookie Witch, let me introduce you to something that is just absolutely summertime delight, man. I mean, you've got ice cream. And who doesn't love? I mean, I feel like especially Central New York, it's like because we don't get the opportunity of having like long summers, right? Like our summers, we got 3 good months of some warm weather, and you got to enjoy it. So, and it's also the beauty of Central New York. It's like just as you're really starting to get to that point of like, man, it's been a long hot summer, boom, it's now we're in the fall and winter and we're snow, and then we're all bitching and waiting for those summer days to come back. Although we do have quite a few people who are snowmobile enthusiasts and whatnot, so I guess in fairness to them, they love the winter and they're probably cursing the summer, but whatever. I've digressed. Stay on task. The ADHD didn't go away, can you tell? Codependent and ADHD. Boy, this is just like coming up to be like your worst mixed drink. You ever have a mixed drink and you're like, oh, that's so good, but the next morning you're like, I had way too many of those and now I feel like shit. Yeah, anyway. So I went on this mission looking for a cookie witch. Let me enlighten you on the Burn Dairy Cookie Witch. You've got 2 chocolate chip cookies cooked to perfection, and in between them, the ice cream flavor of your choice. Mint, chocolate chip, which always a good choice. Vanilla, which I'm fond of because it really lets the cookies shine. Chocolate. And I also do believe that you can get like the Neapolitan in there, but those are your 3 main cookie witch flavors that at least I have. If anybody knows of any more, please do tell and share. I would love to know what other flavors they exist of these delectable delight desserts. Ooh, those are 3D words. A delectable, delightful dessert. Say that 3 times fast. Get back on point, Sean. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I go to Burn Dairy, and I go to the Cookie Witch aisle. I'm focused. I know exactly what freezer they're in. Boom, and I get there, and I look, and I realize that one Cookie Witch is $3.50. Who's gonna eat just one Cookie Witch? Or you can get 2, I guess, for I think 2 for $5, right? So they drop the price a little bit if you want to buy 2. Okay. So I'm like, well, that's cool. And then I look in and I see that they have a box of 6. I'm like, well, that's perfect. And I reach to grab the box and realize that it's $17.99 for a box of 6. And I'm like, whoa, that's a $20 bill on 6 Cookie Witches. And I had to step back and think for a minute. Do I want to spend that kind of money on Cookie Witches? I never, this is the adult, because if I was, 30 years ago, I would have been, fuck it, we're buying 2 boxes. No, but I had to think for a minute. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, shit. It's Wednesday. I still got a couple of days till payday. What do I got for gas? Can I really spend it? Man, you know the drill. We're all in this together. You know how this goes. So anyway, I thought, the Klondike bars are like $4.99, and you get like a bunch of them, right? You get like, I don't know, let's see, 2. I guess you also get 6. I guess there's, so you get 6 for $4.99, $5.99, something like that. So I thought to myself, I do want the Cookie Witch, and the Cookie Witch is absolutely supreme and rules supreme. But the Klondike bar is not bad, You get the Reese's flavor. There's, Klondike bars are up there. So anyway, on this particular day, I went and got the Klondike bars. Now, I bring home the Klondike bars, and of course I'm excited because I want to dig into them. It was particular during that hot stretch that we had. We had a pretty good hot stretch where we had a good couple of days of like 90-degree weather. It since has cooled off, obviously, and we're down into the 60s, 70s, much more comfortable. But anyway, my point is that I bought the Klondike bars. So I get home with the Klondike bars in hand, and I'm happy with my purchase. And the inner child kicks in, right? I had a Klondike bar as a dessert while I was walking Indy, my lab. Our routine is I get home from work, I get her out for a walk immediately, and let her do her thing, right? Sniff around and do all the things that dogs love to do, right? So she's out there doing her thing, sniffing around, whatever, and I'm munching on my Klondike bar just in pure ecstasy with my purchase. And then we get home and I make dinner. And so after dinner, I get all cleaned up, and now, it's just me and Indy at this point. Like I was saying, like I'm living on my own. It's just Indy and I had that fleeting thought of I could really go for another Klondike bar. So I make my way to the kitchen, and I grab my second Klondike bar. And now a few hours pass, and I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm turning out the lights, and I go upstairs. And I put on, I don't know, Expedition Unknown, one of those things that I kind of drift off to sleep watching, And I had that fleeting thought of, you should have one more Klondike bar. Geez, Sean, that's 3 Klondike bars in one day. And then this is where the codependent inner child kicks in. It's like, well, I can't possibly have a 3rd Klondike bar. I'd be in trouble. And it's weird because it's not just the feeling that takes over, or the thought that takes over, There's a feeling that comes, like you almost start to feel like anxious, like I do want another Klondike bar, but I can't have 3 Klondike bars. And then there's that other, like the complete angel devil, on the shoulder kind of thing. But it's like, Sean, you're 50 years old. If you want another Klondike bar, march your ass downstairs and grab one out of the freezer and eat it. Right? But I'm having this whole debate in my head of like, well, yeah, but, and I'm thinking, who am I going to be in trouble with? But this is the codependent inner child, right? Like always feeling like I can't make a decision on my own. I can't possibly do it. And how would I defend myself against it? If I wanted a Klondike bar, it's like, wait a minute, dude. Okay, here's the deal. You paid for the fucking things, right? It was your money that you go to work for every day, 10 hours a day, 50 hours a week. If you want a box of Klondike bars, first of all, buy the fucking box of Klondike bars. If you want to eat the whole box, then guess what? You know what the consequences are. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night. You're going to feel like shit. You're probably going to take a shit. And then you're going to sit there and say, why did I buy that shit? And that's just how it goes. But no, that inner child's got to kick in, and he's got to make a mess, and he's got to fucking fight and fuss and whatever. It causes anxiety of like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. I don't know if I should really eat another Klondike. Well, end of the story. I went and I ate the third Klondike bar, and I told myself, listen, dude, you're 50 years old. Here's the real talk. Real talk right now, yeah? All right, real talk. You're 50 years old. You make your money. If you want to eat the whole fucking box, eat the whole fucking box. And to the inner child, I say, hey, I got this. Because you know what? I am an adult. I am 50 years old. I am making a decision to eat the third Klondike bar, and it tasted good. I'll tell you what. I ate that Klondike bar with a big smile on my face, and I said, there you go. But my point is that it is difficult, making these changes. Because there's that constant battle, of the anxiety, right? Like always feeling like the world is going to end because of a decision that you made. Like, what if it's not the right choice? And how freezing that can be, meaning like you just get locked up in not making a decision at all. And this has been my life, right? Like everything turns into like this, I don't know. Everything turns into like this debate of like, well, somebody asked me to do something, and I'm going through A, B, C scenarios in my head. Like, okay, if I commit to this, and then what happens if something comes up, or I don't want to I have a huge fear of disappointing people. Don't want to disappoint people, and then it's like, but I also have this fear of like commitment in the sense of like, well, I don't want to commit. Because it always sounds like, this is an ADHD thing too. If it sounds good in the moment and it feels right in the moment, and so you make the plan, and then all of a sudden the time comes for you to actually execute, and it's like, why did I commit to this? And so I there's just so much that I'm trying to untangle, I guess, in all of this. And so I think that all of us in some ways go through these struggles. I think I've also learned that, and we can talk about this in another topic in another episode, but I've also begun to learn, like Hollywood, TV, movies, whatever, they really do show us these codependent relationships. And so we really feel like codependent relationships are healthy relationships, and they're not. They're not healthy relationships. I'm not healthy mentally. I'm not mentally healthy. I'm healthy physically. But mental health, no. There's things that I really need to have some discovery, and I need to be alone for a minute. Like I need to like really know, like, I can do this. I can make decisions for myself. That's a big one. I can make a decision for myself. I can do that. Like there's nothing wrong with that, right? People do it all the time. But for me, it's like I make a decision for myself, and then I'm like, was that the right decision? Should I have done this? Should I not have done that? Like, I don't know. What's the consequence? Is someone going to be mad at me? Like, I'm constantly fearful of people being mad at me. I don't know where that comes from, right? But, like, this constant fear of, like, oh, my God, they're going to be mad at me. They're going to be so disappointed in me. They're going to be so, like, I carry all of this. This is what's constantly firing through my mind every time that I'm making a decision, right? I can't just make the decision, which really is also annoying because I say to myself, Sean, make the fucking choice, bro. But those feelings of anxiety and whatnot. So I'm on this discovery of like, one, I got to have some self-worth here and some self-esteem. Like, it's not the end of the world. Be a man, man up. And I don't mean that in a gender-specific role. I'm just saying, like, cowboy up, man, and let's do this. Make a decision, right? And stick to it. If you're going to make a decision, follow through with it. And so one of the toughest decisions I had to make was separating from Minna. That was a tough choice. But I also knew that if I had stayed in that situation, I was never going to get better, and I was never going to change. because I was completely comfortable with Minna making all the decisions, making all, like, I didn't, it's like, it's not the kind of partner that I want to be, and it's not the kind of partner that Minna deserves either, you know? And I'm sure if she was here right now, she would tell you how exhausting that can be when you're the only one in the relationship feeling like you're making all the decisions all the time, you know? And so it's like, this is a path of newness and self-discovery for me. I want to be the best version of myself. And I've had this awakening. And it's like, I also feel like once you've had that awakening, once you're clued into like, wow, these are things in my life that need to change. These are things that I need to do to be better, right? And now I'm aware of it. That's the awakening part. I'm aware. I'm awake to it. I see it. I understand it. Now I have a decision to make. I can completely ignore it and just go on existing the way that I was existing, but there's going to be no growth and there's going to be no change. You know, I had a geology professor tell me, like, things in the earth change under immense heat and pressure, right? That's how diamonds are made. We know that, right? We all learn that in earth science or whatever, right? Extreme conditions. And so unfortunately, I needed to make an extreme choice to have extreme conditions to kind of force myself to change my thinking, to change to change me for the better, And that's where I'm at, and that's where we are. So Klondike bars and codependency, yeah, this sounds like two things that do not go together, but for me they did, right? Like I said, like feeling like I'm in trouble, right? Feeling like if I make this decision, but you know what? I ate the damn thing. I had the 3 of them, so I ate half the pack in one setting, and then I think I ate the other half the next night. So there, right? And I made that decision. You know why? Because I shelled out the money and I bought the things, right? It was my decision to make. And I'm 50 years old. I know the consequences. If I get a bellyache, guess what, dude? You shouldn't have ate 3 Klondike bars, okay? If you don't get a bellyache, fine. But if you go on the 3rd day to the freezer and realize, oh, there's no Klondike bars, right? Because you ate them already. You took, you know what I mean? So those are all natural consequences, and there's nothing wrong with them. But you know what? Nobody's in trouble. I'm not in trouble. Nobody came down and slapped my hand or grounded me or whatever. But it's just crazy how we can't carry these behaviors forward. Here I am, like, again, and I don't keep harping on the idea that I'm 50 years old, whatever. And but I'm just using it as a timeline to say at 50 years old, I'm not going to be in trouble with anybody, right? Like, I only have myself really to answer to. Really, right? I mean, yes, it's important to think about the other people around us. It's important to think about those people. It's important. I'm not saying disregard their feelings, but at the same time, make a decision for yourself and stick to it and follow through with it. That's a big deal for me. That's not something that I've ever done before. So that's a big deal for me. So there you go. Codependency and Klondike bars. Who would have known, right? So let's get to a little bit more fun on this episode. What is on my playlist? We haven't done this in a minute. What have I been listening to? Well, I've been kind of on a classic rock kick lately. I don't know. There's something about summertime and classic rock that just goes together in my mind. There's something about driving, on a beautiful, sunny, warm day and listening to Van Halen or Allman Brothers Band or like those classic like late 60s, 70s rock bands. Those are, I don't know, TK99, I guess, is if anybody, from the central New York area, the radio station up here is TK99 that plays like that style of music. So oh, Black Betty, blah, 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 that, and, like I said, Van Halen and like the Allman Brothers Band and Leonard Skinner and, any of those 70s arena rock bands, I guess. REO Speedwagon's another one. Journey. Yeah. The list goes on and on. That's been, and so I think it's just that marriage of like I said, it's summertime, cruising with the windows down and it's like that classic rock just kind of blaring. And I know it's different for everybody, right? But for me, that's what's kind of going on. Also, though, I will say that there's a new album that's going to be coming out by the band Anthrax, and of course, the teenage Sean is like jumping for joy to listen to some new Anthrax. You know, that was a band of my youth. I loved Anthrax, still love Anthrax. Those classic metal bands. Anthrax, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, the Big Four, thrash. I grew up listening to those bands, love those bands, so I always get excited when they're going to release new music for sure. So that's coming. Also, there's a heavy metal band called Devil Driver. They've got a new album that's coming out, so I've been listening to a lot of their music. So yeah, that's really what's kind of going on my playlist. Oh, I almost forgot because it's been a few weeks. So Social Distortion, which is a punk band out of California, they just released a new album, and it's absolutely incredible. So I've been listening a lot to that. Anything else on my playlist? I think that's really it, man. Just crushing out, like I said, the classic rock and some of those old metal bands that are releasing albums again. That's kind of what I've been looking forward to. But yeah, that's really what's been on my playlist. So listen, I want to have you leave comments. If this episode was something that interests you, if there was a soundbite in here that grabbed your attention, let me know, and leave a comment in the comment area. Hey, listen, Minna was my social media manager. Obviously, with us going through the separation and whatnot, I haven't really figured out all the social media stuff. So if they're slow to respond on social media, I do apologize. It's really because no one's really paying attention to it at the moment. So I apologize for that. The best way to, get in touch is if you want to, email verticalpod@gmail.com, or if you want to just leave a comment in Spotify or Apple. It does get to me. It does get to me. So I will be able to see your comments, and I will be able to respond. And more to come on that whole, Marifa Foundation, So I'm going to dig a little bit more into that. It's not that I'm not interested. I guess I'm just stuttering a little bit on how to proceed, because I feel like it would be pretty incredible to have a spiritual leader on Vertigo. I gotta admit that that's interesting to me, and that's definitely up my alley to talk about. I would love to get into a conversation about it. Again, also just kind of going forward with kids' gloves, I guess, and just not really sure. So more to come. Yeah, more to come on that. I'm not gonna overtalk it as I enjoy doing. I'm gonna pull myself back on the track here. So I hope everybody is enjoying the start of summer. We are just now getting towards the end of June. School's ending, all that fun stuff. So the college, oh my gosh. The school, scratch it. I lost my train of thought. I have no idea where I was going with that. Kids, have fun getting out of school and enjoy your summer vacation. College is out. High school is out. Elementary school is out. It's time. Enjoy the summer. This is Vertigo. I will be back more regularly, and you will be getting fuller episodes. And get excited. This is Vertigo Nation. This is your host, Sean. We are back. Yes. Tell a friend. Be well. Oh, and of course, let your head spin.